Adventure of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman W4CY Radio. Once again, in the positively Pipeman mood with our resident expert. And last week, I think I kind of screwed that one up. So I think I'm better this week, and I did it right. But more importantly, this guest that we have really does it right for your business. So let's explore some more powerful business strategies with Michael Barbarita.
Thank you for having me again, Dean. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah. This one today, we're going to talk about is a financial strategy. And business owners have a hard time grasping this one. Now, it's something I do with every single one of my clients because it helps them so much in a decision-making process. Because you see, a CFO is forward-looking, where most of the financial people like CPAs and bookkeepers and so forth, they're historical. They're mostly telling you what happened. Whereas CFO, it tells you what looks like is going to happen. And one of the tools that we use and that a strategic business owner needs to have is a business and cash flow forecast. And I've got some benefits and reasons why the business and cash flow forecast it helps you make better business decisions, because it helps you identify the ramifications of your decision. It tells you the ramifications of your decisions before you make it. And so, but all the strategic advantages that it has, I'm going to go through, but business owners don't necessarily grasp it for some reason. And despite the fact that I'm able to convince every one of my clients eventually to have one, and they thank me for it afterwards, because it's an ongoing blueprint. It's an organic, ongoing, dynamic, ongoing blueprint. So the first benefit is with a business and cash flow forecast, you actually discover the most successful business model you can have. The forecast reveals your business's true potential, and it shows you the most efficient way to operate. It's like having X-ray vision into your business model. And so when you can discover the most effective business model you can have, because it's not necessarily the business model you have now. And when we propose strategy implementation, we show you what it looks like financially through our forecasting. That's another big advantage. Another advantage is it's a competitive advantage through knowledge. When you know your numbers and understand your business model, and you have a good grasp of what's going to happen, you're far ahead of your competitors who are operating on gut instinct and hope. So that's another benefit. The third benefit is something that business owners relate to the most out of all the benefits that I offer with the forecast, and that is answering the can I afford it question. Yeah, that's the question I get the most. Can I afford a new truck? Can I afford a new manager? Can I afford a new location, a new product line? The forecast gives you accurate answers and shows you the risk associated with any of those investments. So, and it has provided so much clarity for business owners who are just unsure. When they're unsure, at best they're on the fence. But when we can kick them over the fence one way or the other, with the tool that we use, the business and cash flow forecast, it's like a breath of fresh air for them, because they're not stressing over these decisions. They see how it will work, and they have confidence because the forecast is essentially their view of what the future will happen, especially on the top line. It's also a risk assessment and opportunity discovery tool. So the forecast tells you both, what the risks are and what the opportunities are. It shows you what investments make sense and which ones could cause problems down the road. And it tells you when it's cloudy, not when it's raining, which is very important for a business owner to really grasp and understand, because we're able to identify for our clients when it's cloudy, when things are just where I start to develop more questions for the business owner that gets them thinking about the risks, but also the opportunities, because it's also an opportunity opportunity discovery tool. Next is cash requirements. Okay, you'll see the needs of cash requirements well in advance, so that you have time to secure funding, or maybe you want to self-fund it. But whatever reason, whatever way you want to go, it's telling you in advance that you're probably going to need more money in a couple of months, in a year, in 10 months, whatever the forecast says. Another advantage of a forecast is it's a resource planning for growth or contraction. At what sales level do you need more people? What sales level do you need more equipment? The forecast tells you exactly when to make these critical decisions. So it's really, and I've only gone through half of the benefits, but it's really just those benefits alone makes it worthwhile to have your CFO prepare these forecasts. There isn't a Fortune 500 company in the world that doesn't do a forecast. There's even, I should say, Fortune 10,000.
I don't know how you could run any business without a forecast.
Yeah, I mean, you got to know where you're headed. It's just, and you've got to understand the risks and opportunities. You got to understand if you're going to need more people or more equipment. And the other advantage of the forecast is multiple what-if scenarios. So you could even, right in front of your eyes, you could say, okay, this is what it looks like if sales drop 20%. Or what if you lost your biggest customer? What does that look like? Or on the other hand, what if you get that large contract? What does that look like? It's not all negative. It's also positive. There are what-if scenarios for everything.
Yeah.
And so it helps you plan for multiple what-if scenarios so that you are prepared for anything. And then it optimizes staffing decisions. So if you ever wonder if you have too many people or too few people, the forecast shows the optimal number of people that you need and where they should fit in the organization. That's another big advantage, because staffing can be a nightmare, especially if you have over 5 people.
Yeah.
And then the forecast is also the basis for the strategic plan. It gives the company direction. It builds your confidence because you have that direction. So it helps with the strategies that we help you implement, because we can see what that looks like financially. Because a lot of, I'll call them coaches. I hate using that word, by the way, Dean. We're strategists, and
I'm not a fan of that word at all, because it's the most overused word ever, and most of the people that call themselves coaches don't even have the certification that there are, or even realize that there's certifications for experts that are actually doing that. And also, what is coaching without implementation?
Right. That's right. I mean,
they have to go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And just so you know, Dean, I don't know if I've ever said it on the show, I am a certified profit coach, which means I have gone through rigorous training, because, like you said, there's many coaches out there that, just really don't know how to grow a small business. And so we went through a real rigorous training to earn the certification that proves that we can help implement strategy.
Exactly.
And so that's why I get away from the word coach. So that's why I don't call, that's why I don't talk about being a certified profit coach. That is the terminology. That is the certification. But we help implement strategy, and that's why I call it strategic implementation. And so so the other thing is critical metrics. The forecast helps you identify the critical metrics in the business, and metrics are financial parameters that evaluate the performance and productivity of a business. And it's easier for the business owner to understand 4 or 5 critical metrics than it is for them to read financial statements and understand what those are telling them. Even though, as a CFO, one of my jobs, is to give the story that the financial statements are telling the business owner. But the critical metrics helps them understand it better. So that's the other thing that the forecast does. It helps identify those critical metrics. And the other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, that the forecast isn't something we just prepare and throw in a drawer like most business owners do. You know, they call it a budget. What we do, our forecasting is dynamic, which means it's always ongoing. It's a constant tool that gets updated with actual results. And once those actual results are updated, the forecast rolls forward and you're able to better understand what's going on. And then finally, capacity limitations. Understanding what your capacity limitation, every business has capacity limits. Yeah. And what the forecast will do is it'll tell you when you reach your capacity. So you might have to make additional investments in order to grow, maybe not. But at least it helps identify capacity limitations. So those are the benefits of forecasting. And I got to tell you, it's hard to talk about or market business and cash flow forecasting. I'm usually able to convince my prospects and clients once I have an opportunity to go through those benefits, because you just can't. It's just too difficult to go through those benefits or to talk about those benefits in a very, very compact way. Because business owners hate numbers to begin with. So if I talk about a business and cash flow forecast, it's like turning off a switch in their brain.
And like I said,
I don't want to hear it.
Like I've said before, they don't want to know a lot of times, and they think ignorance is bliss. But you know what? Forecasting is bliss.
Right. You got to do it. You really got to do it. And so it's part of our program. So because, as you know, we're both CFOs and strategic implementation specialists, and so we combine both the financial with the strategy. So when we implement the strategy, we understand the financial ramifications of that strategy. And that's what makes it advantageous to work with us.
And how do they work with you, by the way?
Okay, well, they would go to my website, nextstepcfo.net. They would be able to download a free copy of my book called Powerful Business Strategies. And then they would also, if they go to the contact page, which is nextstepcfo.net/contact, or just click the contact page when you're on the website, they will be able to schedule a book interview. There's nothing to buy. Leave your wallets at home. It's 60 minutes on Zoom. And by the way, the reason why we do it is we're constantly updating our book with different versions. And it's 60 minutes on Zoom. I present a strategy from the book, and then I ask you if a business owner were to implement that strategy, what the impact would be to a business owner in your industry. Then I document it for the book. But I promise you this, you will learn business and financial strategies that your competition isn't doing. And that's why it's so valuable for a business owner to go to a book interview.
Oh, yeah. It's key. You have to be not only aware of your competition, but you have to do things that they're not doing, because that's what separates you from the pack. And that's what separates you from the pack.
That's right. That's what we're all about. That's what we're all about, Dean. Doing what your competition isn't doing.
There it is. So thanks once again for a wealth of information and for giving us some powerful business strategies. And I implore all our listeners, reach out to you, see what Michael has to say. You won't be sorry, because it'll help your business immensely. And thank you, Michael, for once again being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.